Hi, I'm Lucy.
I'm Cody.
Hi, I'm Emily.
This is our collaborative project.
My personal project is about queerness represented through sin. It's going to be an audio-visual podcast with some photographs thrown in there as well, and using some typography.
My project is based on misogyny and violence against women and domestic abuse in relationships. My project is solely based on a narrative, as I was in an abusive relationship myself. My project is based on chronological events that happened during the course of my personal relationship.
My project is about bedroom culture and the idea that women are using their private and personal spaces to give a better insight into their personality because they aren't allowed to have it as vocally and loud in person as boys are. And it's more of a documentary style process, so it's really going into people's rooms and trying to tell stories about them to give an insight into people and their own psyche. All of our group projects have a lot of similarities, and one of those is the fact that we're all women. Specifically, we're all gay women, so we all understand the idea of queerness being a sin, and as women we have a different idea of what sin really is. And then with Cody's project, she talks about being in a domestic abusive relationship and how that is as a woman and having to deal with it. And my project talks about bedroom culture and having to use your room as a way to show your personality and who you are because of the way that society conditions women to stay inside in their rooms rather than go outside and have fun.
Another similarity in all of our projects is the element of mental health being a prominent factor. In terms of Lucy's project, historically religion has been a massive input in everybody's way of life. So you can imagine the gay people from times when the church was running the country. You know, sin is heavily related in people being queer and people being gay. So there's a similarity of that being to the detriment of the gay people and having to deal with being gay in a time where it's just completely unacceptable and you are consistently being told you're going to hell if that's what you are or who you are. In terms of Emily's project, mental health intertwines with it because of being in the lockdown. It obviously had effects on everybody as a whole. Being in a confined space for a long period of time is going to drive anybody crazy, which also has a relation to my project as well, because when I was in that abusive relationship, he was living with me through the first lockdown. So when we were in that confined space together, you know, it relates to Emily's project as a whole and being in a confined space. And my room is a lot different now to what it was when I was in a confined space with him. You know, it was a shared space that we had together, whereas now I express myself as an individual, as a gay individual, through my bedroom. So yeah, one of the main elements of all of our projects that we're going to focus into is the element of mental health issues.
So for our collaborative projects, we have decided to each send in 3 images from our personal projects and each edit each other's photos to relate to the project that we're doing, maybe involving some similarities, maybe showing the differences between our projects. Ideally, this would be turned into some form of book or collage that we could then exhibit. Although the projects are quite different, as long as we can portray the similarities and the way that they relate to each other through the collaborative project, then hopefully it will be successful. So basically, the reason I decided to edit Emily's photos like this, I decided to edit them both of yours differently. I decided to focus on mental health with Cody's, your photographs, and then I decided to focus on like the female aspect, female-led and focused aspect with Emily's photographs. So the reason I've used typography in pretty much all of the edits, honestly, just because it's kind of like the easiest way I know how to relate themes to photographs. I kind of just chose 3 different female empowerment phrases kind of thing to overlay over Emily's photographs. I went with the black and white, and that was kind of a decision based on the mental health as well as the female thing as well. But yeah, I chose to like write it like this, a bit disjointed. I mean, it still says women over and over again, but I wanted it to be a bit disjointed because I wanted it to sort of represent like contemporary feminism and like the disjointedness of contemporary feminism essentially. So I've kind of done that with them all. So this one isn't as disjointed as the other one is, but it's the same kind of vibe, as well as the other one. So they're all kind of the same thing. I wanted them to all have a theme, but yeah, I wanted them to all differ in some form of way. But yeah, that's kind of why I edited it in that way. In terms of Cody's photographs, this one I kind of edited this way because I wanted it to look a bit more. The other two of yours, Cody, that I edited were a little bit like, I don't know, I guess kind of depressing. Obviously these are more the mental health ones, so I kind of wanted one that was just a little bit more like happy. More, yeah, because obviously this part of your project is essentially you coming into yourself, isn't it? It's you, like, you know, realizing yourself, exploring yourself. Like
it's the post relationship part, so for sure.
So I kind of wanted this one to be a bit more happy, a bit more open. And then these ones are a little bit more depressing.
Yeah.
This actually says insecurity, homophobia, internalized misogyny over again. Obviously with what you've told me about your ex and stuff, this is kind of all I could think about when these photographs of your ex. So and like even in the photos it's quite prevalent the way that he's posing and stuff, how, you know, like you can even see it with his pose here, his like internalized misogyny and his like insecurities, like he's posing in a way that makes him look, you know, misogynistic and insecure, like really see like that inside him. So I was like, right, yeah, I'm definitely going to put that somewhere. Decided to put it in the head to make it a little bit more mental health related. In terms of this one, I basically did this one just because I wanted to portray how small he made you feel.
Yeah.
So I essentially did this one to show like the empty space around you, which should have been filled by him. Essentially, he created that space and made you feel a lot smaller than what you should have been feeling essentially at the time. So and how I didn't change the way he looks because I thought, you know what, like you can just see in his face how
I quite like that you chose to do that with this one, because the smugness on his face in this picture fits perfectly with how you've chosen to edit it.
Yeah,
it works really well.
That's definitely how I kind of wanted to portray it, because he does just look really smug and cocky, and I was like, yeah, this is a photo to portray this kind of thing. So yeah, that's basically why I edited those photos the way that I did.
When you go back to Emily's ones, I really like how the repetition, I like the repetition of each of the things that you're putting in there, because I feel like feminism, where it's quite a strong point with all of our projects, I feel like women sort of have to prove a lot of the time and reassure themselves that they're not overreacting, they're not, you know, they're not being pick-me girls or anything like that. But I feel like reassurance is a massive part of feminism. So I really like the repetition in those, because it works well with the discombobulation of the text as well, where it's so, well, not so jumbled, but kind of jumbled. Not only does that relate to the discombobulation of being in a bad mental state, but it also could be suggestive of the discombobulation in how you feel about feminism. If you are a feminist or if you're not a feminist, you have to reassure yourself a lot of the time. So I think that works really well.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked the future is the female is the future one, because obviously like these are my mates, and like seeing that like they are feminists and like this is what they're going to be doing in the future, and I've gotten to know them now. It's just really nice, I guess. And I think the black and white helps because I know all of their rooms are very chaotic.
It connected all the photos really well to have them all in black and white. I mean, I wanted to put them in black and white anyway because I wanted to sort of link mental health in a little bit with the female, but yeah, like it really did help to like connect all the photos and, you know, more of a series. Yeah.
So I chose to edit Cody's photos like this because I know that like a lot of the original premise was to show that like how dreamy they are, and this idea that while you're in the relationship things don't seem as bad as they are. So I wanted like a cohesive dreamy vibe, so I made all the pinks like a lot more pink and the greens a bit more like blue tinted, just to like make everything look a bit brighter and a bit more fantasy like, I guess. I think especially with this one it works really well because obviously like this is meant to be post relationship, you're feeling better and all that. Then with this one I sort of did the same thing. To be honest, I would just really like this photo as it is, so I didn't really want to edit it too much, because I think like the glare that you have in it was already really interesting as well. It was a nightmare to bloody edit though because everything was so pink because of the bricks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to like play off of the idea of it being like dreamy and but obviously like with the narrative that you've put in it, it isn't dreamy, and I think that's really interesting. And then for the last one I decided to go with black and white. I started doing the same sort of edit and it was just getting worse and worse, and it was just making him look not better but like important, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I decided to take the color away from him because I think what actually made your relationship dreamy like here wasn't him. I think it was you, and that's like the dreamy aspect of it. So I think him on his own is just a very black and white, dull, misogynist, but I think what you brought to the relationship was making it dreamy and fun and nice. So I kind of wanted to reflect that in the edits. And then with Lucy's edits, I just wanted to like polish them up a bit, make them a bit like brighter. And then I decided to add a few layers of like scratch marks, like as if they were like film, and I'd scan them in just to give a bit of dimension to like the background. Because I really like that the sky in this one's just like a color block and there's nothing about it. But I just thought a bit of texture might have helped. Especially because like I think this shot's really good. I just want to say that. And then I think it was just important to like make her seem confident and colorful and a bit brighter. And then with the one with Cody, I originally made the back really bright and really colorful, but I decided to take some of that away because I thought like the posing looked a bit more somber, and I wanted her to be like more of this kind of like black hole kind of figure, just taking away all the attention away from anything else. I still put the scratch marks and a few like flecks on top just to make it a more cohesive series like you were saying before. And then with my own, which how dare you send me a photo of myself to edit. I was just trying to make a bit of distinction between the greens from the plants and the greens of my jumper. But no matter what I did, they stayed the same color, which was great. And yeah, again, just putting the scratch marks on to make it a bit more of a cohesive series. And I'm not gonna lie, I did remove some of my spots and a few of my pigment cheeks. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I really love how you've done that, to be fair, like the idea of the dreamscape, and I actually really like how you've done the sort of dreamy vibe on the picture of me and Cody and then the picture of Cody and her. Like I think that really comes across that you were trying to make out that Cody was the light and he was the shit, because you know the dreamy was like in, you know, in all of the photos that Cody's in, but as soon as he's alone it's emptiness, it's blackness, it's black and white. Like I really like that. That came across really well. Yeah, and I like how they're all very cohesive. That's really nice what you've done.
I want to like add to what you were just saying there, Luce, with how you really nicely put that as the sort of theme with it, me being the element of like dreaminess. I think where the picture of me and him is so not pink, but like it could be classed as red as well. I could like say that it, instead of it being like a dream state, it could be like a nightmarish kind of state because of him being there as well. And I think that goes quite nicely with him being this empty black and white thing, you know. But I think it was really good. Well done. So I'm looking at an artist called Anthony Burrill, and he does a lot of stuff to do with like graphic design and poster stuff. And the main idea that he's talked about being behind his posters is like being eye-catching and being, you know, you have to read it. If you see it, you automatically read it. So I thought it would be nice to have the images that closely relate to feminism, so Emily's pictures. I thought the idea of having these eye-catching posters would be perfect to like perhaps signify gaining attention to feminism and women and everything there is to do with women. But I also tried to find posters where they had some relation to what your project is also about. So being in your room throughout the lockdown. So the posters that I found were somewhat to do with location and privacy and stuff like this. So this one I just chose Where Are You Now? And I changed it to black and white as well because of the aspect of mental health that we were talking about as well. So, but Where Are You Now? This one I wanted to have a little bit of colour because it juxtaposes the whole idea pretty much. So the walls were made to shelter you from the inside world. I guess in terms of being in relation to lockdown, that's sort of referring to we had no idea what it would be like if the world completely shut off. And having that yellow juxtaposes that quite nicely as well, because in the first lockdown, I was living with him and it wasn't a great fucking time at all. So I really liked the fact that this says to me, if you are inside for a long period of time, you're not going to be happy, but then the color says otherwise. So I think that's a really nice touch to your idea. And then I Can See You From Here, I thought was a good idea because, you know, in your bedroom, it's considered to be the most private space that you could possibly be in. And where everybody was, well, I'm presuming that everybody was on their laptops, their phones and everything consistently trying to connect with people because we were so disconnected from reality. I wouldn't say it's so much like a hacker's perspective or anything like that, but, you know, I guess it's sort of like a recognition thing for mental illness being locked away for so long, you know, recognizing that people aren't okay and they weren't okay. So sort of referring to being aware that that people aren't okay. You know, I can see you from here. I can see that you're not okay from here. So like a checking up on you sort of thing. And then I wanted to keep the whole element of typography because that seems to be like the main thing that's in my work at the minute. And in the series where I was doing the text messages that Casey had sent me, I thought I'd do one that Emily sent me because it's so different. It contrasts so heavily from the nature of his messages to the nature of your ones. And I don't know how to explain it. So the type of person that Emily is just, she's so nurturing to everybody, so caring and loving to everybody. So I thought asking somebody if they're okay is like the epitome of Emily because, you know, she's so unselfish and everything. So I thought that would be a nice thing to put in there. And then with this one, I I wanted to relate this one to feminism. So that message is from me. Nobody ever sent me that message. I sent that to Casey from when he was being, abusive to me in the text messages. And I thought Black feminism needs light as well. So I feel like a lot of the time feminism is a bit whitewashed, and it could regard Black women in a more heightened light, I guess. So I put "Don't be like that" because there is that whole, I don't know how to explain it really. A lot of the time, Black women are just so disregarded, and I was putting that text like I can't identify with a Black woman because I'm not Black, obviously. But it's like an attempt to um, take it from the perspective of a Black woman. So, like, come on, don't be like that. We're all women, Black women need more recognition. And so I don't know if I put that very well, but that's like the basis of what it is. And then with this one, I wanted to put this one in black and white because I wanted to like sort of suggest that I'm still in that relationship. And that story, Luce, where we were at the Slug and Lettuce, and um those messages were like coming through and shit, and the mood was just like bam, completely fucking different. I want it to be like that because obviously that day we were all hanging out together, and there was of course nothing wrong with me. I was just sitting down on my phone, but I wanted to, because like the expression on my face, I wanted to make it look like he had messaged me, and to put like dampen the mood a little bit because I have to constantly be on there and talk to him and stuff. So yeah, that's why I did that one. Cheers.
I actually see the photograph of Rebecca, the "Don't Be Like That" one. Right, first of all, I really like the way you've done everything. I think like it's really nice to hear you actually explain it, because I think especially with typography and when you're using like posters and stuff like that, it can be really easy to like make up your own mind about what the photo is, which is great. Everyone has to, it's subjective, isn't it? Everyone has to take it in their own way, but like it's really nice to hear your reasoning for it, because it is, it was quite different to how I actually saw the photos when I first saw them. So
yeah,
really nice to hear your explanations. And I think the "Don't Be Like That" one I really like, because I did see what you were saying, but I also saw like there's kind of two meanings to it in a way, because I kind of also saw it as somebody, how like if you were to bring up, for example, I really hate it when men say the word bitch. I can't stand it. I think you're not allowed to say it. Women can call me a bitch as much as they want, but to me it's a misogynistic term. Like if a man says it, it's a hell of a lot more offensive than it is if a woman.
I totally agree.
So if I was to explain that to a man, for example, if a man called me a bitch and I was to explain, look, I find that really offensive coming from a man, I would probably get that response back. I would probably get a response from a man back saying, oh, don't be like that, don't be that feminist, don't be that anything. I've had that response many times from people, specifically with intersectional feminism, like you were saying. Black people can often be accused of making everything about race. That's like a big thing, isn't it? So and a lot of times when if a Black person was to openly say something that they were offended by, you'd probably get a lot of responses like that as well, like don't make it about race, don't do that, it's not about, you'd probably get a lot of responses like that. So I saw it like that as well, so it's quite nice that it has several different meanings in that way. So yeah,
you explained it a hell of a lot better than I did. Yeah, cool.
I really like the edits that you did of mine as well. Like I think they're really interesting. Like I think the fact that you had a connection to the art that you put on top as well was really good. And like I liked the use of colour as well. I thought it was really interesting.
Thanks.
Nice.
And I think like all the points you made about like walls and everything like that, like they made sense. Like they were really like, they kind of got the point of the project quite well.
Thanks, Em. Well, cheers, guys.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, well done.